Another thing that Golda Meir said was, you cannot negotiate with people who want to kill you.
Yeah, correct.
So that's what's going on now. Go ahead, Sunny, you want to say something?
No, I look at this from a legal perspective, and I think that we all know that Hamas has been designated a terror organization, just like many other terror organizations have had this designation, like the Proud Boys here in the United States. But I do think that what we need to remember is that there is an international human rights body of law, and when you look at that law, part of it is retaliation against innocent civilians collectively is also terror.
I truly never thought I would say the following words, but kudos to the idiots on The View. Most of them. There's still some terrible people, don't get me wrong. Sunny Hostin is by far the absolute worst. And housewives who are sitting home watching this after being told by people their entire lives, oh, you're so smart, you're so smart. Their brains are being rotted. Their brains are being rotted. Wait till you hear this conversation about the Hamas and Israeli conflict with Sunny Hostin sounding like a complete monster. A very stupid monster, but a monster nonetheless. And her co-host, give them credit, because they are having none of this. And I got to give them some props. They deserve it. Check this out.
Go ahead, Sunny, you want to say something?
No, I look at this from a legal perspective, and I think that we all know that Hamas has been designated a terror organization, just like many other terror organizations have had this designation, like the Proud Boys here in the United States.
If you really want to designate the Proud Boys a terrorist organization, which is not true, by the way, if you want to do that, go for it. But if you want to compare the two of them, you're an imbecile. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. Hamas has been declared worse than ISIS by the people that actually deal with this, not dumbasses on television. And look at what they did. Look at what you're trying to compare. I'm sorry, is there any evidence the Proud Boys are decapitating babies or going insane and killing people in their homes? There's none of that. You disagree with them politically, and they're idiots who cosplay as revolutionaries. That's it. No, they're not the same. So trying to compare them is just embarrassing. But Sunny Hostin has a long day of embarrassing herself left to go.
But I do think that what we need to remember is that there is an international human rights body of law. And when you look at that law, part of it is retaliation against innocent civilians collectively is also terror and is also a war crime. And again, those are not my words. Those are the words of the law. And the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said just last year when we were all talking about Ukraine, she said Russia's attacks against civilian infrastructure, especially electricity, are war crimes. Cutting off men, women, children of water, electricity, and heating with winter coming, these are acts of pure terror, and we have to call it as such. When you have 2.2 million people stuck in an area, half of which are children, and you're
Don't you think Hamas attacking Israel is the reason that they have the problem now?
Anthony Blinken is
the
down there.
obvious reason. Everyone knows it's the reason. She knows it's the reason. And in this scenario that this woman, this genius, Sunny Hostin, is laying out here, the Israelis are the Russians. I just want to make sure, just to draw the parallel here. In her mind, that's exactly correct. It's not correct at all, but in her mind it is. You're going to find the people on The View are not as stupid as you think they are. They may actually be onto something, and they're about to take her to task, and kudos to them.
Is in the region right now trying to work with a diplomatic solution for these refugees. But I want to say, and I think this is very important, what Israel is saying consistently is, if you want your water, if you want your electricity, release our hostages. In my view, that's exactly not an irrational question. That's not an irrational demand. Okay. Release our people that you are holding there as human shields.
And they should, but in the process, they should really refrain from committing war crimes or terror because they're going to lose the goodwill.
I do think it's very important, though.
Hold on. I think it's very important that you be quiet for a second. The goodwill, this happened less than a week ago, and you're on national television talking about how they're war criminals for shutting off the power. They went in and killed people in their beds and in their homes. They went in specifically for that reason. The Israelis are saying, get out of the way. We're taking all this crap out. It's your own fault. Get out of the way. It's not the same thing. Oh, they're going to lose the goodwill. You have no goodwill for Israel. You have a real problem with Israel even existing. That's obvious by your words. I'm not talking about Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's on the screen right now. I am talking about Sunny Hostin.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who was the director of CENTCOM, said Hamas is worse than ISIS. There's no equivocating as far as the terror and the brutality. Beheading children. This is a group that you cannot reason with. There is not a diplomatic solution with Hamas specifically, but we will stand with helping innocent.
And is there any legal?
We have to go.
Is there any legal bearing on Hamas for withholding water from their own people, or is that okay?
Well, they don't. I mean,
they're not responsible.
Humanity values principles.
No,
law doesn't apply to Hamas. They are a terrorist organization. They don't care about Palestinians. They care about annihilating.
That's chaos and nonsense, but she makes a good point when she says, what about them holding back the water? And they're going to get into more of this. I'm telling you, Sunny Hostin really messed up here. She said something that the other four are just going to take her to task for. We got plenty to look at. Check this out.
I echo the sentiment that Hamas is to blame for all of the bloodshed happening right now in Israel and Palestine. A lot of people counter that as if there's a counter to, the Gaza lives in horrid conditions, which I concede, but I put that on the shoulders and the backs of Hamas. They are a terrorist organization that, while, as Alyssa meant, while aid is coming in, they're diverting it to build rockets and weapons. So they're not getting food and water because Hamas is in power right now. Israel issues warnings saying...
By the way, the people in Gaza voted for Hamas. 3/4 of them say, yes, we like this, we want this.
Get out. Hamas says, please stay, because they need them to up the body count. They don't care about their own lives. They're jihadists. They definitely don't care about your life or my life, and they would come for all of us. But the surrounding nations deserve a little blame, too. They are all pro-Palestine, and yet they're rejecting these refugees.
That includes Jordan, Syria, and
Egypt.
Turkey.
So the U.S. right now is telling Egypt, open that so they can get out. And everyone's saying, but what about the people there? We're all saying, what about the people that are stuck there? The surrounding pro-Palestinian nations need to open their doors. They're all saying, we don't want trouble, we don't have room, but go Palestine. That is hypocritical.
They've been doing that forever, you dopes. You're correct, but they've been doing that forever because they don't want these people either. They don't want these problems. They don't let about 2 million poor people into their communities. Only the United States of America is dumb enough to do that.
And so I think to solve it.
Well, everyone wants to blame Israel. No one wants to do their part. Right. But no one will negotiate with terrorists. No rightfully elected government will negotiate with terrorists. Well,
they have clearly had enough of Sunny Hostin's garbage, and they are just destroying her argument.
Okay. Anybody
else? Look, as a child, I lived through a civil war in Nicaragua. Nowhere near the violence and the level of arms that we're seeing right now. But I know what it's like to be a child caught in the crossfire and the violence and the death created by adults. The way I feel about this is it's heartbreaking. And if you are human, you've got to be just as sad to see innocent children, whether they are Palestinian or whether they are Israeli. The problem is that Hamas doesn't care about Israeli children or Palestinian children.
I gotta say, this is astonishing. Just some soberness by these people about something going on in the world when they are normally just complete nut jobs.
What they care about is only one thing: wiping Israel off the face of the earth.
Right.
That is their sole purpose of existence. And I was reminded of a quote that I'm going to paraphrase from Golda Meir, a premier of a prime minister in Israel in the past. And she said, if Palestinians put down their weapons today, there would be no more violence. If the Jews put down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel.
100% true. Holy cow. What is happening on The View? What is happening on The View? These guys are going to get destroyed on social media. And wow, what is happening here? These guys, they're right. Anna Navarro is right. Alyssa Farah Griffin is right. Sarah Haines is right. Joy Behar is right. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sunny Hostin is still an idiot. But wow, just wow.
You cannot live in peace. You cannot live in a 21st century, prosperous, thriving place. For Palestine to be free, for the Palestinian territory to be free, they need to join in ridding themselves of Hamas. Plain and simple. If you want to see a 21st century, thriving, prosperous Palestinian territory, that's what will happen. Palestine receives billions of dollars in foreign aid from all over the world, but Hamas uses that for its terrorist efforts. The reason they don't have basic infrastructure, the reason that right now we could see their infrastructure turned off, is because Hamas is living large in Qatar. All their leaders are in Qatar right now telling the Palestinian people, you need to sit here and you need to be willing to die for the cause when we're not.
Absolutely true. Holy cow. Again, I am impressed. I am shocked. I am thrilled. But you know what this does show? It also shows that these ladies, they think everywhere is America. They think they can talk Hamas into doing what they want to do, shame them with some negative media pressure. Well, first off, a majority of the media is going to take Hamas's side, and that's going to start this week, more so this week. We've already seen some of it. Listen to Sunny Hostin. She's living in that bubble. This is bad. It's going to continue to be worse or get worse. And we have to remember, Hamas started this, and they can end it. And some very smart things were said on The View today. Congratulations. Congratulations to these people. Some very smart things were said on The View today, and I'm glad I could bring them to you because I think it's important. If we're going to criticize them for being stupid, we should praise them in the rare instances when they're not.